Hello. So for the first exercise, we have the reciprocal blocking systems with two programs. So first we have the pneumatical part with the two double effect cylinders and the 5 valves. And then this part is really important because it's the one that helps us control the program we're accessing depending on the push button that we choose. So for example, on the first one, when we push the push button, the program 1 is activated and the program 2 is closed, so it doesn't happen at the same time. And through the use of the relay, the two electronic aspects communicate between each other. So when the push button is activated with the use of this relay, we access the program 1 on the other electronic part. But first, we need to activate the sensors, and we have the A minus, A plus, which is the contraction, extension of A, and then contraction of B and extension of B. And they're connected to each of the sensors. So now with the bigger electronic circuit, first, when we access program 1, we only have, according to the equations that were simplified, we have the push button and sensor 3, which makes the Y1, which is the solenoid, makes us communicate between this electronic aspect and the movement on the pneumatic part. So Y1 is caused by, the excitation of A is caused by the push button sensor 3 on program 1. But on program 2, we have the push button sensor 1, sensor 4. And it's the same for the other one. So Y2 is caused on program 1 by push button and sensor 2. And on program 2 as well by the push button and sensor 2. I repeated them to be so it's easier to see. And then we have for Y3, which is the extension of B. It's caused by sensor 3 in program 1 and sensor 3 in program 2. And finally, for Y4, we have for program 1, the push button, sensor 4 and sensor 1, and the push button in sensor 2 for program 2. So yeah, let's see the simulation. First, we click the push button. So for program 1, we have both extension of the both cylinders, and then cylinder A starts to contract while cylinder B remains the same. And there we can see that it contracted, the one stayed the same, and then cylinder A stays fixed, and cylinder B starts to contract. Yes. And then for program 2, we have, so here we choose program 2. We have the extension of A, and B already starts extended. And then we have the contraction of A at the same time as the contraction of B. So there we go. And then we have the extension of B and A stays fixed. And yes. So, okay, now for exercise number 2, I decided to put them separately, the sensors and the movements, but because it's easier for me to visualize them that way. So first we have the pneumatic part as well, as the same as exercise 1. And here I connected each sensor with a relay. And okay, so now similar to the other one, on the first, we only have one program, so we don't need to change between them. But yeah, so we have first the Y1, the extension of A is caused by push button, sensor 1, sensor 3. This is Y1. Then Y2 is caused by sensor 2 in Y3 as well as with sensor 2 and Y4 with sensor 1 and sensor 4. So I only place them like that, and then we can see the simulation. So first we have the push button, and first we have the extension of A, while B is contracted. Then we have the contraction of A as B starts to extend. And then A stays fixed on its contraction and B starts to contract. And yeah, and it starts again. Yeah. Okay. Now for exercise number 3, okay, we have the cascade. No, this is step-by-step method. So for this one, I'm going to do first the cascade. Okay, so for this step-by-step. Okay, so first, for this one, we have 3 double effect cylinders. And the way this works is that we have the control system for the prioritization for the activation on the left, and then we have each individual group accessed on the right. So first, for example, we need to wait, let me. There we go. Okay, so first, group 1 occurs once we have P1 activated, and this occurs on this little first square. And while this occurs, we also need sensor 3 and to close group 2 so they don't happen at the same time. And sensor 3 is gonna be like looped from the beginning to the end. We'll see that later. So we'll need P1 to be activated through this relay here. So once it is activated, we have Y1, which is caused by the extension of A. Once the extension of A is finished, the sensor 2 is activated and leads us to the next group, which occurs once the sensor 2 is activated, like we see here. And once the P1 already occurred, which is the first group, sensor 2 is activated, and group 3 is closed. So here we have the contraction of A, which activates sensor 1. We have then the extension of B, which activates sensor 4, which are seen on the cylinder from here. Let me see if I can. There we go. Okay, yeah. So as I was saying, B plus, yeah, and needs sensor 4. And then we have the extension of C, which is caused by sensor 6. So once sensor 6 is activated, we can see here that once program 2 and sensor 6 are activated or are completed, we can start with group 3. And group 3 involves the contraction of cylinder C and the contraction of cylinder B, which activates sensor 3. And we go back to the beginning. So let's see this in the simulation. Okay. So, yeah. We have the extension of cylinder A, then the contraction of cylinder A, and then we have the extension of cylinder B and the extension of cylinder C. And then we have the contraction of cylinder C and then the contraction of cylinder B. Yes. And then you can start all over again because of the sensor 3. And okay, similarly, the cascade should work the same, but instead of having the push buttons activated from the beginning as we did on the step by step, they're activated on each while each group is operating. So yeah, similarly, we need first the push button 1 and sensor 3, and we close group 1, and that causes the extension of A and activate sensor 2. So for group 2, we need for the first program to be finished, well, P1 and then sensor 2. So we can start with program 2, and this makes the contraction of cylinder A, extension of cylinder B, and extension of cylinder C, which finally activates sensor 6. And sensor 6, as we can see on the pneumatic part, activates sensor 6 is needed for the contraction of cylinder C and which turns on sensor 5, and then cylinder B is contracted and activates sensor 3. So we can see the simulation. So it's really similar to the step-by-step. It's just the configuration and accommodation of when to the control systems and when to activate the push buttons that it's different. So first we have the push button, and we have the extension of cylinder A, then the contraction of cylinder A, then the extension of cylinder B, and extension of cylinder C. And then we have the contraction of cylinder C, and then finally the contraction of cylinder B. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.